It was the kind of night that got under your skin. The rain didn't pound. It lingered, soft and stubborn, sticking to your coat like it had something to say. St. Mary's Children's Hospital was as quiet as a church at 2 a.m., machines humming, nurses moving with the kind of rhythm you only get after years of doing the same thing. And then the automatic doors slid open. No ambulance, no frantic voices, just the sound of water dripping from the awning outside, and him. A German shepherd, soaked from ears to tail, walked in like he owned the place. Not wandering, not sniffing, not acting lost. Focused. His paws hit the tiled floor with this sharp little echo, like every step was a countdown. Nina, the receptionist, froze mid-sip, coffee hovering near her lips. Officer Mitchell, the security guard, straightened, confusion written all over his face. Hey, stop right there, he barked, one hand half reaching for his belt. But the dog didn't even blink his way. He moved faster, weaving past the desk, ignoring every shout. It wasn't a dog exploring new smells. It was a soldier on a mission, you know what I mean? He turned corners like he already had a map in his head. A nurse tried blocking him with a cart. Didn't work. He slipped around it without missing a beat, wet paws skidding, claws scratching the floor. And yeah, by now the hall was buzzing, radios crackling, nurses shouting for backup. But the German shepherd just kept going like none of it existed. Where the hell's he going? Someone yelled. Pediatrics, a nurse answered, already moving. On the third floor. Carla Morris, tough as nails, never cracked a smile unless it was Christmas, stood behind the desk, patient charts in hand, when the radio call came in. Large dog approaching children's unit. Proceed with caution. She barely had time to react before she heard it. The soft tap of wet paws against linoleum. Slower now, almost careful, and then he appeared. Dark fur glistening under the fluorescent lights, dripping water in a line that looked, oddly, like a trail of breadcrumbs leading straight to him. Two nurses tried blocking him. One even banged a waste bin, but he just slipped between them, moving with this weird, respectful determination. And then, just like that, he stopped. Room 312. He didn't scratch, didn't bark, didn't slam the door. He just stood there, nose to the bottom crack, ears twitching like he was listening to something no one else could hear. Don't open that door, Carla said. But before she could stop anyone, he pressed his paw against it, just enough to push it open. No rush, no aggression, just careful. Inside, the room was hushed, except for the steady beep of machines. Emily Parker, 5 years old, lay motionless in the bed, her small body swallowed up by hospital sheets. The dog, Max, though no one knew his name yet, moved closer, slow as if he understood he was walking through sacred ground. He rested his front paws beside her pillow, lowered his head, and placed it gently against her chest. The air changed. I swear you could feel it. Everyone froze at the doorway. Nobody dared move. Then a nurse whispered, "Look at the monitor." Emily's heartbeat, faint and uneven for days, started smoothing out, stronger with every beat. Dr. James Turner came rushing in, expecting chaos, maybe even injuries, but stopped cold when he saw the scene. A soaked German shepherd, still as stone, head resting over a little girl's chest like he'd been there all along. Carla whispered, "You know this dog?" Dr. Turner knelt, eyes narrowing as if trying to convince himself. Yeah, his voice cracked. "I do." He was hers. And then it hit everyone. Emily Parker, the little girl pulled unconscious from that house fire last month. They never found the family dog. Everyone assumed he hadn't made it. But here he was. No one spoke after that. What could you even say? By morning, the story had already spread through St. Mary's like wildfire. Nurses who'd been too tired to care about much suddenly found themselves tearing up in quiet corners. Security didn't dare move him. And Sarah Parker, Emily's mom, came running down the hall so fast, she almost slipped. When she saw him through the doorway, she dropped to her knees. "Max," she whispered, her voice breaking in a way that makes your chest tighten just hearing it. He didn't rush to her, didn't wag his tail like some happy reunion in a movie. He just looked at her, calm, sure, like, yeah, I'm here. I've got her. And for Sarah, that was enough. An hour later, after the pediatric committee met, something they never do in the middle of the night, they made an exception. Max was allowed to stay. No leash, no cage, no rules. Just him and Emily. The sun rose slowly, bleeding soft gold through the blinds. Sarah sat beside her daughter, holding her hand like it was the only thing tethering her to the world. Max hadn't moved all night, hadn't even closed his eyes for long. And then it happened. Emily stirred. Just a twitch. Barely noticeable, but Sarah felt it. "Emily, baby," she whispered. Emily's eyelids fluttered, then opened, blinking against the light. Her lips moved, cracked and dry, but you could almost hear it before the word came out. "Max." The dog lifted his head, tail wagging once, softly. No bark, no chaos. Just a look between them. One you can't really describe unless you felt it. Like two souls saying, "I never left." The hallway outside went silent, everyone holding their breath. Someone filmed it. Of course, it went viral later, millions of views. But in that moment, none of that mattered. Emily was alive, and the first word she spoke was his name. When she was finally moved to recovery, Max walked beside her wheelchair, every step measured, like he was still guarding her. Staff lined the hallway, some clapping, others just watching, teary-eyed. Because deep down, everyone knew this wasn't just about a dog and a girl. This was about hope, the kind you can't bottle, can't measure with monitors, can't prescribe. Outside, Sarah sat on a bench with Max at her side, his eyes fixed on the hospital window where Emily waved weakly down at him. Sarah smiled through her tears, whispered, "We thought we lost you both. But maybe love doesn't get lost. Maybe it just waits." Max didn't bark, didn't look away. He just sat there, still as stone, waiting. Because his mission, it wasn't over yet. So tell me, if you were the doctor that night, would you have followed protocol and sent Max away? Or would you have let him stay, breaking every rule for something you couldn't explain? Drop your thoughts below, because honestly, maybe this is what real medicine looks like, and maybe, just maybe, we've been getting it wrong all along. Right? So you think that's where it ends. Little girl wakes up, hero dog gets his moment. Everyone cries, roll credits. But life, doesn't really do neat endings. It lingers, it pokes at you, makes you wonder what comes next. And that's exactly what happened after that quiet little miracle in room 312. Max stayed. The hospital made it official, a temporary exception to every rule in the book. Nurses adjusted schedules just to keep him company when Sarah needed to sleep. Doctors who normally barked orders now whispered around him like they were afraid to break whatever magic was holding Emily together. And Emily, well, she started smiling again. Weak, tired, but real, like her body had finally remembered what hope felt like. But here's the thing about hope, it's fragile. And not everybody thought a dog had any business in a sterile hospital. The twist came 3 days later. A man in a gray suit showed up. Hospital risk management, the kind of guy who smiles with his mouth, but not his eyes. Name was Alan Pierce. And he carried a folder thicker than your average medical chart. He walked right into pediatrics, didn't knock, didn't even glance at Max curled up by Emily's bed. "We can't keep this up," he said flatly, like he was reading a grocery list. "There are liability concerns, allergies, sanitation protocols." Carla squared her shoulders. She was done being polite after everything she'd witnessed. "You want to be the guy who drags a dog away from a little girl who just woke up from a coma?" Pierce didn't flinch. "I want to be the guy who keeps this hospital from being sued." And here's the kicker. Technically, he was right. Max wasn't trained as a therapy dog, wasn't certified, wasn't vaccinated through hospital protocols. But try explaining that to Emily Parker, who now refused to sleep unless Max's paw touched her arm. The room went quiet after Pierce left. But the air had changed, tight, uneasy. Sarah sat in the chair holding Emily's hand, eyes red from crying. Daniel stood behind her, jaw clenched like he was ready to take on the entire hospital board himself. That night, Carla called a meeting with Dr. Turner and a couple of other senior staff members. If they pull Max, Emily could crash again, Turner said, voice low. "I've seen cases like this. Kids hold on for things that don't make sense to us. Take that away, you risk everything." But Pierce had already scheduled a removal for the next morning. Yeah, they were actually going to send security to take Max out. And this is where it got, well, kind of cinematic. At 6 a.m., before Pierce's team even arrived, Max wasn't at Emily's bedside anymore. Nurses panicked. Sarah thought maybe he'd been taken early. But then they heard it, the soft clicking of paws down the hallway. Max wasn't running, wasn't frantic. He was leading. Right behind him were 2 kids in wheelchairs. A boy with leukemia and a girl recovering from spinal surgery, both smiling for the first time in days. Behind them, more kids, some walking, some rolling, all following Max like he was Moses parting the damn Red Sea. By the time Pierce stepped off the elevator, there was a line of children stretching down the hall, parents crying quietly in corners, nurses filming on their phones. Max walked straight past Pierce, calm as ever, tail low but wagging just enough to feel alive. And in that moment, no one could argue policy. Because you can fight paperwork, but you can't fight 20 kids who suddenly look like they remember what it's like to feel alive. Pierce froze. His mouth opened, closed, then stayed shut. Carla just folded her arms and raised an eyebrow like, "Go ahead, tell them they can't have this." And that's when Emily spoke, from her wheelchair. Voice still raspy but clear enough for everyone to hear. "Please don't take him away. He's saving us." You could have heard a pin drop. Pierce looked at Dr. Turner, who didn't even blink. "She's right," Turner said. "You pull him out. You better be ready to explain to every parent here why you took away the one thing keeping their kids smiling." Pierce left. Didn't sign off, didn't argue. Just left. For the next week, Max became more than just Emily's guardian. Kids started asking for Max time. Nurses rearranged breaks so they could sit with him. Even Pierce, yeah, that guy, was spotted scratching Max behind the ears one morning, like maybe he wasn't as heartless as his suit suggested. Emily got stronger. Day by day, her vitals improved. She laughed, asked for pancakes, started drawing again. Her first picture was of Max, standing in the rain outside a hospital. The day Emily was discharged, Max walked beside her wheelchair again, calm and proud, while staff clapped and some openly cried. When they reached the front doors, Emily bent down and whispered something in his ear. No one heard it, but Max wagged his tail just once and nuzzled her cheek. And then, he didn't follow them out. Emily's mom panicked. "Max, come on, boy." But Max just sat there, watching Emily leave like his job wasn't done. His ears twitched, his gaze shifting toward the pediatric wing behind him. Because maybe, just maybe, he had other kids to find. You tell me, should they have let him stay permanently, maybe even make him the hospital's official therapy dog? Or should a hospital stick to the rules, even if it means risking a little bit of magic? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because sometimes, the hardest question isn't what's right for policy, it's what's right for people.